Hi and welcome to Scrapbook.com. My name's Alexandra and I am here to show you the Scrapbook.com exclusive Sizzix Big Shot die cutting bundle. So today we have lots of things in our bundle for me to show you. You get this fabulous Big Shot machine, you get the extended multi-purpose platform that allows you to cut dies, big dies, embossing folders, all sorts of things in there. You also get these gorgeous ocean glitter Sizzix cutting pads in there, as well as the sandwich, which tells you what plates to use with what dies. You also get included these nested hearts. You've got 5 nested hearts in the bundle. So let's have a look at the few elements of the card that we're doing today. We're going to do some heat embossing with white embossing powder. We're also going to create this 3D sentiment using a die cut, and that's with ultra thick embossing powder. So we're going to create that, and you can create them as thick or as thin as you'd like, so they're completely customizable. We're also going to be using those nested heart dies, all 5 of them, to create this card that goes inwards. And I'd like to just point out as well how lovely these dies are. They have this lovely embossed edge just along here. It's a little bit different from other nested dies that I've used, and it gives your project a really nice finishing touch. So let's get started. I have here some Lawn Fawn rainbow cardstock, and I just chose a couple of colours, and I've already cut them down to 5 1/4 by 4 inches so that they will all stack nicely on top of each other when our card is complete. You're also going to be needing your thin metal dies and your Big Shot. So let me move that over here. So we're going to start with our red cardstock. I have my multi-purpose platform here and my ocean sparkle pads as well. And we're on tab number 2 because we're using a thin steel rule die. So I'm going to lay my red piece in there. I'm going to put my heart on top, and I'm going to use a piece of washi tape to hold it in place. I'm also just going to grab my sentiment because you can hold that on there and position your hearts accordingly. So I'm going to stick that down, remove my stamp, and now I'm going to run this through my Big Shot with this extra pad on top. Once we've run it through, the middle piece will pop out, and you want to keep those for a future card. And let's peel that off carefully. And you can see here we have that lovely cutout heart with that wonderful embossed edge as well. Now you're going to want to do this on all of your pieces, and my tips for doing this is to take your next piece of cardstock, line it up like this, grab your next die, put that in, and hold that down with your piece of washi tape, and then you can remove your previous layer, and each one will then be perfectly stacked. Once you've done all of those, your pieces will look like this here. So I have cut them out on some orange, some purple, some bluey green, and some yellow, and you can see how they all stack in there perfectly. And now we can stamp out our sentiment. So for our sentiment, we're going to be using the Concord and Ninth Cuddles and Hugs stamp set. It's got some lovely words in it. We've got this gorgeous heart, lots of things for lots of occasions, so it's a really versatile stamp set. And we're going to be using our Tim Holtz stamp platform to stamp it out. And I've got some cardstock ready. I have my Versamark pad, and I have my Ranger Superfine white embossing powder. We're using this on the clear side. We can pop our cardstock in, and I like to put a piece of craft mat in the bottom there just for easy cleanup. I'm going to pop a magnet down, and then I'm going to pop down my sentiment. And then we can put that down and lift it up onto the lid. And because of the way the platform is done, if your cardstock moves like mine just did, you can put it back into that corner and it's going to be in exactly the correct place. I'm going to use some Versamark to ink it up. And before I put my Versamark down, I'm going to grab my powder tool and just dust over the area so we don't get any static. Give it a nice firm press. And when you lift it up, you'll be able to see a watermark of that sentiment there as well. So I have this scrap piece of paper here that I'm going to use as a little tray. I'm going to sprinkle over my white superfine powder, and then once I dust it off, you'll see that we have the lovely sentiment under there. I'm also going to give this a strong flick underneath, and I'm just going to set it to the side until we get our heat tool out. So let me put this powder away. And we're also going to prepare our sentiment because we're going to be using our heat tool with that as well. So let's put these to the side. I have the Lawn Fawn Scripty Friends die cut. And again, we're going to be using our Big Shot here. I have a piece of black cardstock that we're going to cut that Friends out of. And you could cut it out of any colour of cardstock, whichever you prefer. and whatever complements the colours within your card. So here we have our die cut friends, and don't forget the little dot above the eye as well. And we have our Make Everything Better. So I'm just going to heat set that because I have a tendency to put my hands across and I know that I'll just smudge it. So you want to switch on, this is the Wagner heat tool. You're going to heat it up and it's going to be really quick, and this is going to turn that white powder into a white enamel. So you can see there how it's changing. It's always one of those techniques that makes you go ooh, no matter how many times you do it. And I would recommend doing that heat embossing on your top layer before you assemble all of your hearts. So now we're going to start with our friends, and this is the die once it's cut out, and don't forget the little spot above the eye as well, because we want to add some dimension to that too. We're going to be using the Ranger Ultra Thick Embossing Powder. This will give you a clear enamel, and we're going to build it up. 3 coats seem to be about the sweet spot for the UT as it's known. We're going to first of all ink up our piece. And this is Versamark ink exactly as we stamped out with earlier. And I'm also going to ink up my little spot. You'll need a little pair of tweezers as well. You'll find those really handy. I've got my piece of scrap paper here as well. We're going to add our first layer of UT. You'll notice the crystals are much thicker than a standard embossing powder. I'm going to use my tweezers to pick up my little dot here. And I'm going to put the enamel away between coats. We're going to heat up our dot and you'll see how it goes lovely and clear. We'll pop that to the side, and now we'll work with our friends. And you'll want to work systematically over all of the area. Don't worry, your first coat is going to be bubbly and uneven, and that's why we do 3 coats, because that seems to give you the best even and dimensional piece. And now we can add our final layer, and you can already see how much more even this layer is, and that final one will really just finish it off for you. And I've got a little tip for the final layer when we do the heat as well, so that you get a really nice even finish. So let's add the final layer to our dot, and you want to make sure that the tweezers are not touching on that final layer, because otherwise you'll end up with some little divots. And you're going to do the same on this one. And with the friends, I would suggest you pick an area, use your tweezers as minimally as you can and lift it up, because that will give you the best finished result on your final layer. Now I'm going to pop this to the side for a second, and we'll come back and check it in a moment, just while it cools down and sets. And now we're ready to start assembling our card. So I have the pre-cut pieces we made earlier. I also have a white piece of cardstock that we're going to be using as our card base. This is half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cut lengthways, and then I've scored it down the middle as well. I'm going to be using my Umbrella Crafts tape runner, which is a really great adhesive. And we're going to start with our yellow layer, and let's start taping that around. Now I did do it that there was a small white edge around the pieces, so that you have that lovely white border to offset your card as well. And then we can layer up our green piece, or this is actually called peacock cardstock, and you'll notice that you get that nice even border, and you can still see that nice embossed edge as well. Embossing crystals around, so I'm just brushing those off. It's our purple layer. Now we can do our orange. And now finally we can add our red layer, which will finish off our layered hearts. Now on this layer, I'd also suggest you put some adhesive around the edge of the heart, because you want that to sit down nicely when we put our friends piece over the top. So I'm a little bit more liberal with the tape on that layer. And you can see there how they all layer up. Let's take another look at our friends piece here. I'm going to remove my tweezers. And I'm actually just going to heat up this end. You can see there's a little tiny mark in there. If you get that, just heat up one end like this, and you can see that that's disappeared. So I'll remove my tweezers, and because this end didn't get hot, I'm not going to get any marks in there. And I'm also grabbing my little dot out of the lid there. To stick this on, I'm going to use some glue dots for the eye, and I'm going to use some glossy accents to put on the friends. Glossy accents, not only do they give you a 3D effect, but they're super, super strong as an adhesive. So we're going to add some small dots of the glossy accents on the back, very little pressure, and just put them all over. And I'm just working my way along the word, Now, if you do get any spillage of the glossy accents out the edges of this, which you shouldn't get with these small dots, it will dry clear, so it won't notice on your finished card either, which is a really nice reason to use it as well. Let's bring in our card piece. And I'm going to use my tweezers here to help me. And you're going to want to put a little bit of pressure on this. I quite often put it in my Big Shot sandwich to just hold it down, and I'll show you how I do that in a second. We also need the little dot that we had, which is here. And glue dots are absolutely perfect for that, so I can just touch one on the back there. And I just use my nails to move it in, and then we can stick it down. So this is our finished card, and as I say, to let your glossy accents dry, I'm going to grab the plates here out of my Big Shot. I'm going to pop my card down like this, and then I pop my extended platform on it, and if you leave it like this, you're not going to get any squishing of any dimension in your card, but it will dry perfectly exactly how you want it. Thank you so much for joining me here today at Scrapbook.com. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. My name's Alexandra from Hedgehog Hollow, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye! Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more from Scrapbook.com, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a message. Happy crafting!